Hello everyone, my name is PlasmaMuffin, and in this video I am going to be giving my thoughts on the Risk of Rain 2 final version, or at least the roughly complete final version, 1.0. This video is mostly directed at the developers of Risk of Rain 2, but for anyone else who wants to hear my thoughts on it, here it is. I was going to just send an email to the Risk of Rain 2 feedback email, but I figured that it'd be easier to do a video where I'm actually playing the game, so all the things it'll be easier to think of all the different things that I have to talk about when I'm in the game itself, and the game's reminding me of all the things I want to talk about. So, gonna get started. First off, the artifacts here, you should just be able to click on them to enable them instead of having to go into a separate menu. I don't really know why that's necessary. And this menu doesn't really even need a reason to exist. All this stuff can fit perfectly fine on this little menu here. You can just put it down here and it would work perfectly fine. There's plenty of room. Only uses like half the room here, and it's just weird and unintuitive to not have that. I mean, it's a minor thing, but the thing is, when you have a game that with pretty much every game, if there's a bunch of little minor annoyances, they'll eventually add up, and when there's a bunch of them, then it starts to get kind of annoying. I could be using the Artificer, because the Artificers, well, I have a lot to complain about the Artificer, but for now I'm just going to use Commando to make things simple. Excellent, I got the Titanic planes. It's perfect because I actually want to talk about this level. Alright, so first off, I love the fog effect on this level. That makes it so much cooler and so much more fun to explore. Like, it just feels so much better than it did before. It was cool before, but it was alright before, but now it's actually really cool, and I like it a lot. So the first gripe I have, I guess, the first complaint, is the music. So ever since the Scorched Acres update, the music has been changed. I'm pretty sure it was Scorched Acres. The music on this level, let's turn the music volume up, actually. Keep the sound effects low with the music up. There we go, that way you should be able to still hear me talking, but hear the music as well. So, it's still kind of quiet. Is that good? Yep, there we go, that's good. Oh, perfect! It's like the game wants me to make a video on this. I got the Chrono Bauble, which is the first item I want to talk about. Okay, but I gotta finish talking about the music first. So since the Scorched Acres update, the music has changed. They're all the same tracks, but they're not. They have new things added on to them, and in my opinion, only one of the tracks is actually improved by the addition, and that is Distant Roost. I really love the Distant Roost music change. I think that was fantastic and made that level a lot cooler. But I don't like any of the others, to be completely honest, especially the music for the Titanic planes. I don't remember the name of it, but like right now I'm fine with it, because this is the part that hasn't been changed so far. We haven't gotten to the part I don't like yet. I don't remember when that comes up, but this fits. It's nice. It's not super obtrusive. Like, you can just play the game, forget about it, not think about it, and it's just good. It fits the area. Oh, and I get oh my goodness, I'm just getting all the, either I have a lot of items to complain about, or I'm just getting really lucky and getting all the items that I want to talk about right off the bat. So with this music, there's this one part that comes up soon where it sounds nothing like the original soundtrack, nothing like the rest. Like, I'm gonna be quiet for a sec. Right, you hear that? You hear the music? That works. That's good. I like that. It's just perfect for the level, and it's not annoying or anything. Unfortunately, the new bit that was added does not fit with the rest at all. I think it's coming up just here in a second, so... yep, it's almost here. Listen to this. Yeah, this part, I suppose you could think of it as fitting with the rest of the music. I don't think it does, honestly. And it doesn't, like, the rest of the music had sort of like the rest of the song had sort of a melody, or like I don't know what it's called, but like it was the same theme, the same, I guess, few notes repeated. This one, it doesn't seem to have any kind of theme, any kind of recognizable melody or tune. It just, to me, it just sounds like a bunch of weird screeching. Like, I mean, you can hear, I don't need to try and explain that, but, yeah, and it keeps going. Like, if this part was a lot shorter, it would be better. But it just keeps going for over a minute, I've checked, and it really, honestly, this is a personal problem, honestly, not something that's like a huge problem with the game itself that needs fixed because it affects everyone. I'm sure there's tons of people that love this music, but personally, I just think it doesn't fit with the rest. Same with all the other additions added in Scorched Acres, so my feedback on that, my suggestion to the developers is to, you can already do things like change the names of items in-game, and, like, you can change all the language stuff. For example, the lowest difficulty, I've changed the name of that to Boring, because it kinda is, because mobs don't spawn that often. So, I'm assuming that you can also do that with the music. So I would request that the original, if you still have that, I would request the original songs be made available, either to download from the soundtrack, or just maybe make a version changer, so you could go back to the old version, find the files for the old songs, and then copy and paste them over to the new version to replace the files for the new songs, so you could have the new version, but with the older songs in it. And you could, for example, I could have all the old songs for all the rest of the maps, and then for Distant Roost, I could have the new one, because I actually like that one better. But, that's, like, again, that's a complaint that's specific to me. It's not objectively bad, but personally, I don't like it, and I think it would be nice if there was an option for people to easily change. Maybe like resource packs for Minecraft, where you could just switch out the music easily, and maybe make it so included in the soundtrack. When you buy the soundtrack, you'll get the new and old versions of the songs, so you could use those to swap them out, or just add something. Like, even if you have to like buy the songs to put them in the soundtrack, I would be okay with that, honestly. And then there's the fact that this song plays not only on Titanic Plains, but also on Scorched Acres, which was ironically the update that added the new song. And having the same song play on multiple maps is, I mean, if I like the song, it's alright, but still, it's nice to have unique music for all the maps. It'd also be cool to have unique music for all the bosses. I realize that this would take a lot of time to add, a lot of time to implement, and to make. Like, you'd have to make the new songs and you'd have to add them and stuff. But at the very least, I would like an option to change the even if just unofficially, to change the music of the game back to before Scorched Acres, at least for some of the songs. Because honestly, every time I go on this level, I'm just like, oh no, it's gonna have this song in it, and I don't want to turn off the music because I like the rest of the music. But I know that that part that I don't like is coming up, and so I'm kind of dreading it the whole level. So yeah, again, that is specific to me, but I really don't see a downside to letting people customize the music in the game, because customization really extends the longevity of a game and replayability. So I would strongly recommend doing that. Maybe it could be part of like a modding update, or modding support is added or something like that. I don't know. But now it's time, now that I've spent 10 minutes complaining about the music, I'm going to talk about the items. So the Chrono Bauble. It has been in the game since the beginning, and it has never been useful. I think what it does is when you hit enemies, it gives them, it lowers their movement speed by 5%, which, I don't know if you know, this isn't very much. Okay, that's another thing. I'm gonna skip Chrono Bauble for a sec. When you're the big golem boss, I renamed it, I don't remember what the original name is, Stone Titan or whatever. His laser shouldn't be able to just auto-track you, because sometimes you can outrun it. Like, sometimes if you're constantly moving you can outrun it, but as you could see, with this time that didn't work. I was constantly moving and it stayed on me the whole time. I feel like that's a little bit unfair, honestly, because unless you can hide behind something, then you're basically guaranteed to get hit by it, and it does a lot of damage, so yeah, I would, I don't know, change that a bit. I'll mention Wandering Vagrant if I come up against one. If I don't, then I'll just mention it later at some point. Anyway, this may be a very long video, I apologize for making you sit through all this, but I mean, you don't have to, but anyway. So the Chrono Bauble, it makes enemies move 5% slower when you hit them. I think it stacks, so like if you have 2 Chrono Baubles, they go 10% slower. But the thing is, movement speed is not really a thing that you have to worry about with enemies. Like Wisps, they kind of just stay there. They don't move all that much. Beetles, they're so slow that they might as well not even be there. You might as well just make little sentient coin bags hopping around, because they're just so useless. Like, they move slower than you do when you're not sprinting. Like, they're slower than Rex, and that is saying something. So, I feel like they should get, like, a super jump ability, where, like, they can charge up a jump and then just yeet themselves at you at high speed. And if they touch you, then they deal damage, so they can actually be a threat. I feel like that would be a good thing to do, because right now they're just not a threat. I'm gonna get this one. Focus Convergence. Now let's talk about lunar items. I know I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. Lunar items are, most of them are terrible. This one, the Tincture, I feel like it needs to do more damage to be useful. I'm not taking it because it's bad. Transcendence, I feel like it's a good idea, replacing all your health with shield, but the fact that it completely negates all healing, I feel like the health bonus you need to get should be a lot higher. Like, instead of a 50% increased max health, you get like it doubles your health every time you use it. Sort of like the opposite of Shaped Glass. This thing is fine. I don't see any problem with it, honestly. It's not super useful, but it's not super bad either, so I feel like it's balanced enough to work well as a lunar item. Same with this thing. It's got a good bonus and a good debuff that I feel like it balances it out, because the point of the lunar items is it's risk versus reward, and I feel like Most of them are pretty useless. Some of them are useful, but most I feel are useless. What else to talk about? Oh yeah, okay, this thing, the Sears. It is so hard to tell what level you're looking at. Like, I can tell because this is one where it's got very different colors. It's either the desert or the wetlands. I'm actually going to choose the wetlands because I want to use that one. But the problem with those is that it's so hard to make out the level. So for levels that look similar, it is very difficult to see which one you're actually going to be choosing. Like, I think one time I actually went to the Gilded Coast by accident because I thought it was something else. So maybe make it so you can actually see the level a bit clearer. Oh yeah, and so this is why I want to be on this level. This is kind of an annoying level because you have to go under the water to see the items, because it's really hard to see them otherwise. And that actually brings up another complaint I have about the price numbers for items, and that is that they don't face the camera, they face the player. Sure, that makes them look all 3D and stuff, but as you can see, it also does that. You can't tell. It also does that where it's like practically invisible. So sometimes it can be hard to actually see what the number is. So I think it should face the camera. If you want to keep it looking 3D, you could just add a slight delay, so it always faces the camera, but you see it turn, so it still looks 3D, which I assume is the effect that you're going for there. So I would recommend doing that because that would make it easier to read, easier to see. But back to the Chrono Bobble. The Chrono Bobble is just useless because it doesn't slow enemies' attack speed at all, which is the main thing you want to worry about, because most enemies in this game are ranged anyway. So there's really no point in making them move slower unless they have, like, for Elder Lemurians, it's sort of helpful because they have a really strong close-up attack, but they can also attack from distance, and they really don't go that much slower. And look at this Golem, he is so slow already. It really doesn't change much. And this is an uncommon item, which are generally supposed to be at least a little more powerful than common items. Like, imagine farming for like a minute or so to open a chest and you get the Chrono Bobble. Like, there really, in my opinion, there shouldn't be any useless item in the game, because that's just annoying and disappointing. Like, every time someone gets it, they're gonna be like, ugh, got this item. Like, you might as well not have anything at all for how useful that item is. Because making enemies go 5% slower, even 10% slower, 50%, it really doesn't do anything. Especially when you consider that there's things like there's common items that are better. This is not one of them! Thank you, game, for reminding me of my next topic. The Rusted Key, it's terrible. It is easier to see this thing, but I think it should have, like, it doesn't have a number over it, like other items have. And speaking of which, I think the number should be visible all the time, so you can see them across the map. Let's talk about chest visibility. You can see all the interactables here. Problem is, you can do that once every 40 seconds. It doesn't tell you what the interactables are, and if there's something like a use item that you collected but you didn't want to switch for your use item, it still shows up. It doesn't tell you what it is, because they're all question marks. So you're like, wait, is that an unopened chest, or is that a use item that I don't want? So it's really not helpful. Back in Risk of Rain 1, you could... Oh, here, the music. This is another part of the music that I think shouldn't be... It shouldn't exist, I guess. It doesn't really fit the rest of the theme, and it's just very... And it's annoying, honestly. Like, no offense. I love a lot of the music in Risk of Rain 2, and all the music in Risk of Rain 1. But having things like that, where, have you ever listened to a song and it's a great song, but there's this one part that's annoying and it bugs you, and especially if you listen to it on repeat, every time you watch or listen to the song you have to skip that part because it's annoying. And you know, like, once or twice it's not that big of a deal, but when it happens every time, you enter a new level, it gets to be a problem. That's what I was talking about with when there's a bunch of little problems, a bunch of little annoyances, they add up quickly. Like, you'd be surprised how quickly these little annoyances can add up. Here's another one. With these things, you have to jump to get over that, which is annoying. I feel like you should just be able to step over that easily, because it's just annoying. It's just another one of those little things that's annoying. Like, I mean, I guess with this ridge, it makes sense that you should have to jump here, but not here. Like, I could probably make that step in real life, and I'm not very agile. So yeah. So there really shouldn't be any useless items. But for chest visibility, in Risk of Rain 1, you could see all the items that were on screen, so you could easily tell what's where if you've opened a chest, etc. But you don't have that in Risk of Rain 2, and I feel like that's something that should be included. It shouldn't have to be an item that upgrades your ability to see chests, especially when it does it so poorly. So I would make it so the numbers, the price numbers over the chests, I would make it so they're visible either from a further distance or just all the time. Probably just from a further distance, and again make it so they face the camera. I would also add a price number or some sort of tag to the Rusty Lockbox, because even with its increased size, and I forget which update it was, but the size got increased, it's still pretty hard to see. And there's no point in getting a free item every stage if you can't find that item. And as you can see, I got a rusted key from the box. All that does is increase the chances of getting a rare item. And those items, as with the Chrono Bauble, aren't even always going to be better. So there's really no point in getting more than one rusted key, because a lot of the times the white items are actually the best, despite being the most common. Things like Soldier's Syringe or Lensmaker's Glasses, things like that. They're actually often a lot better than the higher rarity items, just because they're useful in more situations. Because a lot of the rarer items only activate, like, they have a really good effect when they activate, but they only activate every now and then under specific circumstances, like brain stalks. So the consistency of the white items actually makes a lot of them better than a lot of the green or red items. Now let's talk about 3D printers. They always seem to have the same items. Like, I feel like it's weighted. What I would recommend is if a 3D printer has gotten one item, so this one's got Bustling Fungus, well, I would make it so if you've gotten a 3D printer with Bustling Fungus on one level, your chances of getting a 3D printer with Bustling Fungus for the rest of your run are decreased. So that way you'd be more likely to get more diversity in your 3D printers. Sometimes, in fact, I can get 2 or even 3 3D printers on the same level, all with the same item. I got that with, like, I forget, but I got like 2 3D printers with the same item on one level. And the thing to keep in mind is that each 3D printer you get is one less item that you can get, because it replaces a chest. Same with shrines. Shrines replace chests as well. So each shrine, each 3D printer, etc. I'm gonna turn down the music because that's making it hard to concentrate. Each 3D printer and things, they all lower the amount of items you get. Sometimes I can get like 2 items on the first level despite collecting everything, just because I got too many 3D printers with useless items and shrines. So maybe make it so they have a separate pool from shrines or from chests. So like you have one pool for 3D printers and shrines and one pool for chests. So the number of chests stays the same. I've actually gotten pretty lucky with my items here, but I hate getting a run where all I get is useless items. This is not one of them, unfortunately. It would be nice if it was, because then I could show that off, but there are a lot of useless items in the game. Bustling Fungus, for example. What I think it should do is, because the only thing it's useful for is these blood shrines, because it's a constant source of healing. But if you're in the middle of combat, which you are most of the time, it's really not that useful. So what I would do is I would make it so whenever you're holding still, Bustling Fungus takes effect, and instead of healing like once every second, it's a constant healing. It heals the same amount per second, but in smaller ticks. Like, see, it's a bunch of 2s instead of 120 every now and then. That's what I would do. I would make it like that, so it heals the same amount, but heals more rapidly. And it happens whenever you're holding still. That way, it would actually be able to compete with the other white items. And I don't feel this would make the game too easy, because honestly, with so many items that just aren't good, it can be really hard to get a good run. And now I get a 3D printer with like the best item in the game, the Lens Maker's glasses. Okay. I've actually mentioned which items need buffed before. Maybe I should just skip that so I can talk about other things. Let's talk about elites. There's only 3 kinds of elites in the game, and it kind of fits because it's a common thing to have ice, fire, and lightning as the 3 elements of the game. But I just really miss the diversity of elites that you could get in Risk of Rain 1. And I would just absolutely love it if that was added, because there are Malachite and Celestine, but those are elite elites, kind of. Like, they're rarer, they only spawn late in the game, and they have very special, specific abilities. I would really like to have more basic elites. Like, we got the Fire, Ice, and Electricity, which is, it's sort of electricity, but not quite. It's more of I just call them shielded elites, because that's basically what they are. And honestly, they're a little too powerful, but I'll get to that in a second. It would just be nice to have a lot more elites in the game. All the ones from the original game, like the ones with lifesteal, the ones with, the ones that heal others, the ones with explosives, the ones that shoot missiles. Speaking of missiles, did you see that? It just shot the ground. Like, yeah, I killed the enemy before, but a lot of times it hits the ground and it tries to go and hit an enemy, and that's annoying because it might as well have not triggered at all if it's just gonna hit the ground. Same with fireworks. They only have a small chance of triggering in the first place, but then when they trigger and then they hit the ground, then they might as well not have even existed. Oh yeah, you're about to find out why I named this guy that. So, as you can see, my Chrono Bubble does absolutely nothing against him. These guys are a pain. You see this? Even though I shot that little electric blob he shot at me, the bubble, it still blew up and dealt damage. I think that if you shoot it, if you kill it, it shouldn't deal damage to you. And the fact that it homes in and you can't really avoid it, really the only option is to hide behind something. And I'm actually killing too fast. Okay, this attack, first off, the only way to dodge it is by hiding behind an object. But the game does not tell you that. There's nothing in the game that would insinuate that, because the bubble visually just goes through all objects, so you wouldn't expect that hiding behind objects actually blocks it. I didn't figure that out until I saw someone do that in a YouTube video. I was like, well, so that's how you're supposed to dodge those stupid things. So, maybe make some kind of indicator to show that that can help. Because I honestly had no clue how to dodge that attack for so long. And if there's nowhere to hide behind, then it's just a pain. Those guys, I hate those guys more than Clay Dune Striders, and that's saying a lot, because no one likes those. But the fact that you have to, for both Stone Titans and Wandering Vagrants, you have to be right next to a hiding place immediately, like all the time, the whole fight, and that's not fun. Also, I feel like the game is trying to ask you to fix this bug, because I don't think this is intended. Fun as it is to walk around inside the map, I doubt that was what you were going for there. So yeah, more elites would be nice. Let's talk about use items. The vast majority of use items in this game are garbage. The Saw Meringue is nice, but I would upgrade it so it can go through walls. Oh yeah, I was talking about fireworks and missiles, they should go through walls too, but I've mentioned that before in one of my emails, as per my last email. Foreign fruit, that's perfect. It doesn't need upgraded. It's fine as it is, I think. Imps, I think, I don't know. They're just annoying. Maybe it's, yeah, I feel like they're annoying, but in an acceptable way. So I'm just gonna skip that. Like, there's gonna be annoying enemies in games. But again, with beetles, they are just so weak. Look at this. Look, look. I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm over here. Look, I'm trying to get him to attack me, and he's so dumb, he won't do it. Look, look. I'm right here. I'm right here. Come get me. Come get me. Oh, and they finally do it, and it takes them like 3 seconds to do their attack. So they're just really weak. This eccentric vase, it's terrible. There's no reason to get it. Like, if I'm trying to teleport... Let's say I'm trying to teleport over there. You have to actually point at something. So, like, you can't just shoot it into the air, which is not... It's kind of dumb, in my opinion. You should be able to... No offense. You should be able to point it into the air, because if I hit the side, there is that platform there, but if there wasn't... I've been in cases where I tried to teleport somewhere, and with the vase, and it just goes... I go all the way over there, hit the side, and fall down, because it won't let me teleport above. Sort of like with ender pearls in Minecraft. So I feel like you should be able to just use that wherever you want, instead of having to use it in a specific location. I'm actually going to go ahead and get it, so I can explain easier, show what I'm doing. Just walk, it's faster. So let's see. Gonna try and find a good spot to do this. By the way, I don't like the Scorched Acres map because there's no way to get up here except they're not even here, except those little, that thing right over there. You can climb up there and jump, but they're not that common apparently. I think there should be ladders every now and then up here to let you get up here, or maybe not ladders, but something to let you get up there, because having to walk around the whole thing, this map takes forever to complete just because of how big it is and the fact that you have to walk around in a circle to get it. It's like that one map from Risk of Rain 1, the underwater map, where if you fall down that one thing, you have to go all the way around before you can get back up. You know what I'm talking about. Also, these guys, if you don't have the Clay Templars, if you don't have an attack that consistently stuns enemies, let's say you're playing Rex. Rex is slow, he can't consistently stun enemies. If Rex encounters a Clay Templar, all he can do is shoot and pray that he out-heals its damage, because they can see you from way too far away. Unless you're super fast, they almost never miss their shots, and they just can machine gun you into oblivion, and you don't have a chance to do anything, because, like, if there's nothing to hide behind, you can't hide behind stuff, and they don't even stop when you hide behind stuff, so you just have to wait for them to get up to you, which is a pain. And yeah, I feel like they should pause every now and then, maybe to shoot little blobs of goo at you, like they do up close. But if you're far away, or there's multiple of them, you're kind of toast. There's not much you can do about that. These crystals, originally, they were black instead of orange. They looked way cooler when they were black. Please bring that back, or at least, maybe, like, as a compromise, you could keep the little ones orange, but make the big ones black. I think that would be really cool, because that looks... The original one looked just so much cooler than the new design. And yeah, here, listen, it's my least favorite song again. No offense. Again, most of the Risk of Rain music is fantastic, but there's little parts that annoy me, like that. And having this song play for 2 maps, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like each map should have its own soundtrack. I feel like that would make things more interesting. If each boss could have their own soundtrack, that'd be great too, but I repeat myself. Let's see, Crowbar, you do more damage for like 1 hit. Actually, the Cocoon, the Milky Chrysalis, that has actually been improved to the point where I don't have any complaints anymore, because it actually functions now. So, good job, Hapu. You actually you did a pretty good job on that. It's nice to see that. It was definitely a needed improvement, and I don't have any complaints about it anymore. So, good job. But I'm gonna get the other use item. This cube, that's cool. I don't have any problems with this cube. Geysers, excellent. Perfect thing to talk about. So, in Risk of Rain 1, your movement was not impeded at all by geysers. Risk of Rain 2, I can't move. I was spamming keys, but I couldn't move once I hit the geyser. That's a little annoying, especially if it's sending you directly towards an enemy, or if, for example, let's say I use my skill in the middle of the jump. That changes my velocity, it changes the direction I'm going in, and I still can't control it. So sometimes I can just yeet myself into the void by accident and not be able to control it. So I'm fine with it setting your initial velocity. Like as soon as you touch the geyser, it shoots you in the direction of the place it wants you to go, and at the velocity where if you don't move, then you will end up exactly in that correct spot. But you should also, once you are in the air, you should be able to change the direction you're going in with the movement keys as per normal. Because it's just really annoying not being able to do that, especially since you could in the first game. So, yeah. Also, the bandolier just kind of sucks. I would make it so it's like... because you have to go up to the enemies to collect it, and having to, like... it's like the amethyst, the gigantic amethyst from the first game. Risk of Rain 1. I don't know why I felt like I need to say that, you know the name. It's like it's just hard to time it to where you can actually use it properly, because like get an ammo box, but you don't know which of your skills is it's hard to explain, but it's just not that useful, honestly, especially for a green item. I feel like it should, when you get one of them, then you have a 100% chance to get the boxes, and getting more just increases the radius of which that you can pick them up at. I feel like that would be nice. Let's see, what other items do I want to talk about? The problem is I'm actually getting good items here. Topaz Brute, perfect. Okay, Topaz Brute used to be fantastic. It sucks now because I don't know if this was coded in intentionally or if it's just the way it happened to end up. But I'm not showing off Clay Templars very well because I got lucky. I'm always getting crits, which stun them pretty well. But when you don't always get crits, then they're a pain to deal with. But the thing with the Topaz Brooch is that... watch this. Oh. That's another thing. If your drones kill something, it doesn't activate your on-kill items, which I don't like. I feel like it should. Did you see how that shield only lasted like half a second? So you either have to kill tons of enemies in quick succession to get any shield at all, and even then it goes down really fast, or you have to just get a ton of Topaz Brute so you get tons of shield at once. But the thing is, the more maximum health you have, the faster the shield decays, because it decays at a rate of like, I think I'm guessing it's a percentage of your max health per second. Like, you lose 1% of your max health in shield per second, but each one only gives you like what, 15 barrier when you do it. So if 1% of your max health is more than 15, then that barrier will decay almost instantly. I'm sure I'm messing up the math somewhere around here, but hopefully you get the idea, right? It just, the less health you have, the more health you have, the faster the barrier decays, and that's really not good, because it used to be such a good item, but now it's almost useless, because if you either have a decent amount of health, or the Topaz Brooch will actually work. It only works if you have low health, which is not great. If you have high health, you need a ton of Topaz Brooches to compensate, which is weird. So, yeah, I would please fix that, because it used to be such a good item, and it's an awesome idea, but the fact that it decays so fast, like, you saw how fast that was. The fact that it decays so fast is just not cool. And another chrono bauble. That's another thing. Some items, they just don't stack well. Like, once you get one, there's no point in getting another, like the ukulele. The ukulele should... Okay, ooh, perfect. Runald's band. Please revert that to the way it was before, because Runald's and Kajarl's bands, I really like the synergy where you're encouraged to get both of them because you have an increased chance for them to trigger, because they both trigger at the same time, but they have separate chances to trigger. That was a fantastic mechanic, and I loved it. But the fact that it only triggers if you deal 400% of your damage or more in one hit, or possibly in a short amount of time, I don't remember, I don't know which one it is, but you have to deal 400% of your damage. That's a lot of damage, and most of the time you won't be able to deal that, because not all characters can deal 400% of their damage with their skills, unless they get really lucky with, like, their items they get. And that's the thing with Clay Doomstars, they can actually heal pretty much, they can heal infinitely. So, with most bosses, you can chip damage them until they die. You can't do that with Clay Doomstars. If you don't have the damage to kill them, they're just going to infinitely heal. And that's the fact that bosses can become literally invincible just for you getting bad enough luck. See, look, he's healed up fully. He's literally healed up almost 100%. That's honestly, that's kind of BS, if I'm being honest. That shouldn't be a thing. Like, yeah, you can kill all the other enemies, but if you just don't have the damage, sometimes you just gotta chip damage away at them, and, but you can't do that with these guys, so they're effectively immortal if there's enough enemies around. And I really don't like that. I think either they should only do that attack a little bit, like they should only do it like maybe once or twice in their lifetime, and then they can't do it ever again until they die. Or the attack itself should be nerfed, like maybe the enemies that it sucks health from take more damage from it, so they can't suck health from them for as long, or they just don't get as much health from them, or there's a cap on how much they can heal, like they'll stop once they reach 50% health or something like that. Because I've gotten into loops where Clay Doomstriders are literally unbeatable, and it's just a cycle of them healing over and over and over and over again, and I spend 30 minutes trying to kill them, but they're just invincible. I'm fortunate enough to have that not be the case, because I have a lot of good items here. But when I don't, then that happens, and it's just not fun. Like, I'm fine with difficult bosses, difficult fights, but when it gets that bad, I really don't like that. That's just not fun for anyone, honestly. What's the next thing to talk about? Oh yeah, Runald's band. So, to trigger Runald's band, you have to deal a lot of damage in the first place, and if you're dealing 400% of your damage, you don't need Runald's bands or Kajarl's bands in the first place, because you're already dealing lots of damage. So it deals extra damage, but only if you already have enough damage that you don't need any more damage. And then it has a cooldown on top of that. Cooldowns are... I hate cooldowns for abilities, to be completely honest. If the ability is powerful enough it needs a cooldown, I feel like the ability should just be nerfed, so it's more consistent. I've had entire games go by where I have not triggered Runald's or Kajarl's bands at all, not once. And maybe they were a little powerful earlier, but so are the enemies, honestly. And since it's entirely luck-based on whether you're even going to get them in the first place, I really feel like they should be taken back to the way they were, because they're just not good anymore. Like, I just actively skip them. Okay, this thing, Squid Turret, Squid Polyp, it is also bad, because they constantly die. Like, as soon as they spawn, they constantly take damage until they die. So that's not cool. Also, every now and then there's downtime where there's no enemies, so you're forced to just watch the difficulty go up and up and up, and you can't make any progress because there's no enemies. Finally, there's one. you can't make progress because there's no enemies. So you just have to sit there and wait, and that's not fun to do. Tri-tip dagger, I feel like it needs a nerf. What I would do is, instead of, because right now the way bleed stacking works with the final update, bleeding is incredibly overpowered now. Like, it's the strongest mechanic in the game. I would revert it to the way it was before, but I would make it so every dagger you get, every stack, also increases the damage of bleed by, like, I don't know, 1% maybe, 5%, I don't know what the right number would be, but it should increase the damage that bleed does, or possibly the duration. That way there would be points to getting more than 7 of them, because right now there's no point getting more than 7, because that's 100% bleed chance. And I really don't like it where there's a cap on how many items are useful, and if you get any more, you might as well not have any items at all. You might as well be getting nothing. Yeah, fireworks and missiles should work with the way they did in Risk of Rain 1, where they will attack any enemy on the map, and they can go through blocks like in Minecraft. They can go through terrain. Because having them hit the ground so often is just really annoying. Or having them circle around an enemy without hitting it, or having them not see an enemy that's like 30 feet away, and so they don't hit it. That's just, it's not fun. It's annoying having an item that's useless. Like, sometimes I'll have like the daggers from that sacrificial knife or ceremonial dagger, whatever you call it, and they'll be sitting on the ground like right here when there's an enemy right there that they could be attacking, but they don't, because either there's something in the way or it's too far away or something like that. What next? Okay, the squid turret, I call it Glonk because it does absolutely nothing and dies. It does very little damage. It's constantly dying. Not only is its health already going down, but it can also get damaged by enemies on top of that. So it often only lasts a few seconds because it just dies. Oh, hi, Alien Head. That's fantastic. No complaints about Alien Head. It's perfectly fine. But, like, sometimes, like, look, these, not only is this guy losing health automatically, but it's also taking damage from enemies. So either they should have a set duration that they go for instead of using their health as a timer, and their health should be separate, or they should be invincible and just stay alive until their timer is up, or just make them permanent but give them health so they can be hurt and killed by enemies, but as long as they don't get killed by enemies, they will stay alive. Because they just suck, honestly. It's just not a good item to have. Gnarled Wood Sprite is actually a lot better than I once thought it was. I'm not gonna complain about that. Let's see, what else? What else did I want to talk about? So it looks like I am actually getting Kajarl's Runald's bands to, I think it's Kiaro's. I'm getting them to activate, but I've had long periods where they don't activate. Oh yeah, that reminds me, the Death Mark. You need 4 separate debuffs on an enemy to activate the Death Mark. So it's one of those items where it deals extra damage, but only if you're already dealing enough damage that you don't need the bonus. Oh yeah, and drones can pick up bandolier boxes. They don't have skills, they don't need them. So having that happen is really annoying. Drones can often be more of a hindrance than a help because of all these factors. Let's see. Ukulele. I've already mentioned that there's no point in getting more than one. I think I've suggested a way to fix that in one of my emails, so I don't think I need to mention anything about that here. Going back to the... what was I talking about? I don't remember. But, let's see. Elites. The overloading elites with the shields. they're insanely overpowered a lot of the time. If you get like an overloading Elder Lemurian, they have so much health that just damaging them enough to remove the shield is a challenge in and of itself. But then you have to constantly damage them. You have to constantly keep attacking them 100% of the time, or they will just heal all that damage right back and you're back to square one. They're literally more powerful than bosses sometimes because they heal faster than Clay Dune Striders, and you can't always keep the heat on them the whole time. Like, it's not a bad concept, but the amount of health that they have, it can just be really excessive to the point where they're effectively immortal, because you can't afford to keep damaging them, because sometimes you need to run away and heal, or attack an actual boss, or something that you know you can kill so you can actually get money from it, or things like that. So, I think there should be a limit on the amount of shield an enemy can get, or maybe the speed that it regenerates at, or something, because overloading enemies they're just too powerful, honestly. They're just overpowered, especially later in the game. I've already mentioned in one of my emails that Soldier Syringe, or anything that increases attack speed, should also make the Artificer's first attack charge up faster, because otherwise they're effectively useless, except for charging the second ability faster, which is hardly useful at all. Oh yeah, Death Mark. So, what I would change the Death Mark to is I would make it so you get a small bit of extra damage for every debuff an enemy has on it. So for one debuff you might get 10% more damage, 2 gives you 20% more, 3 gives 30, 4 gives 40, etc. That way you would get more damage. You would get extra damage on enemies a lot easier, but you would still keep the same damage from getting multiple debuffs. So the more debuffs an enemy has, the more damage you deal to it. That, I think, would be a perfect solution, because it would scale with how many debuffs you have, and it would also be useful just about all the time, as long as you're dealing some kind of debuff. Even if it's just the Chrono Bauble, then you would still be getting extra damage. But the fact is that 90% of the time in the early game, Death Mark is dead useless, and there's no point in getting it, unfortunately. So I would strongly recommend that you implement something like that, or just reduce the number of debuffs it needs to activate, like maybe 3 or 2, but nerf the damage accordingly. I really like my idea, honestly, of scaling the damage to the debuffs. I feel like that'd be like a perfect way to balance it, honestly. I mean, I can't be sure because I haven't seen it in the game, it's just an idea, but yes. So maybe consider something like that, something to make it better. It and a lot of the other items in the games that just aren't very useful, because if you just get those items, you can't do much. Like, see this guy, he's taken a lot of damage, but if I stop attacking him for a short amount of time to, let's say I need to heal or take care of these guys, then okay, well, he's been taking damage from like drones and stuff. Bad example, but it happens, especially for things that have a lot of health. A 57 leaf clover, that is very lucky. Luck is on my side just for getting that item. That's a good item, no complaints there. I'm just gonna keep playing the game now because I can't think of... I know that I have more complaints, more feedback to give, but I can't think of any of it right now. Oh yeah, there's no point in having these themed chests, because it costs more than normal chests, but, like, I mean, it's not like you're going to open all the chests anyway, most likely. You're not going to say, oh, well, I'm not going to open that chest because it's a healing chest and I want damage chest. You're just going to open all the chests regardless, but they cost more than normal chests. But, like, you have a chance to get a healing item in a normal chest. But you also have a chance for that normal chest to generate as a chest that only gives healing items. So effectively, it works out roughly the same as each chest. Each chest has a chance to give you items of different types. The only difference is that you can tell what category of item you're going to get from a certain chest, which isn't very helpful because you're just going to open all the chests anyway, most likely, or at least most of them. Like, who's going to be like, oh, that's a utility chest, I'm not opening that. Like, no one's going to do that. So they're really, and the fact that they cost more than normal chests, effectively it just makes some of the chests cost more money than others. That's really all it does. Those scrap thingies, they would be useful, but you're not guaranteed to get 3D printers after them. Honestly, I don't know. I just don't feel like they're a very good item. Frost Relic, excellent. That is not a good item, but I do want to talk about it. So, every time you kill an enemy, it zooms out. Now, I get that that's to show the effect, but it's very disorienting and weird to have it keep zooming in and out when you kill enemies. Like, it doesn't make me feel sick or anything, but for some people it might. And also, it's just annoying having just constantly zooming in and out. Also, the shield shrinks way too fast. Do you remember the charge field generator from Risk of Rain 1? Well, that was like this, but actually good, because the shield didn't shrink. Like it seems to shrink by one size every like second, so you have to kill like at least an enemy per second just to maintain the size. My math isn't exactly correct there, but you get the idea. You have to constantly kill enemies if you want to increase the size, so most of the time it's going to stay pretty small. So there's really not much point in making it expand when you kill enemies unless it's going to stay at the larger size for a decent amount of time, which it doesn't. So I'd recommend just making it the charge field generator and making it so it doesn't shrink at all. You might have to tweak the damage to keep that balance or something, I don't know, but for a legendary item, it's really disappointing, to be completely honest. Armor-piercing rounds, what I would do is I would actually nerf... there's an update where the damage was increased from like 15% to 20 per stack or something like that. What I would do is I would revert that so it goes back to like 15% damage to bosses per stack, but it affects all bosses, not just the teleporter boss. Because having it only affect the teleporter bosses, I mean, it makes it charge a teleporter faster, but that's it. Once you get enough to kill the boss, as long as you can kill the boss before the teleporter hits 100%, you're good. Also, another thing is, the teleporter, it finishes charging at 99%. It's a very small gripe, but it's just annoying not seeing it go to 100%. If it would go to 100% just for a split second as the teleporter charges, that would be fantastic, because it triggers my OCD having it not ever actually reach 100 technically. Even if it doesn't really matter, it's just a number on the screen, doesn't affect the gameplay itself, the teleport still charges the same. I would just really like if you could actually see the 100%, it's just a lot more satisfying. Also, I really like the mechanic in Risk of Rain 1 where the higher difficulty you are at, the longer it would take the teleporter to charge. So maybe it would be the same speed it is now in Rainstorm difficulty. In Monsoon, it would charge a little slower, and in Drizzle it would charge faster. I would really like that. I think that would be a really good idea, because that was just a nice mechanic to have. Because right now the difficulty between the different, like the changes between the different difficulties just seems like difficulty goes up faster. And I've already mentioned that the difficulty, in my opinion, shouldn't go up when you're... It shouldn't go up unless you are... It shouldn't go up just from transitioning to a new stage, but I've mentioned that before, so I don't really need to get into it that much. Oh, this music. I love this music. This music actually was changed in the Scorched Acres update, and I like the new version equally to the old version, but it would still be nice to have access to the old version so I could listen to it every now and then. Okay, here's a perfect compromise. Make it so every time one of these tracks plays, it has a chance to play one of the variants. Like, sometimes it'll play the pre-Scorched Acres version of the Titanic Plains theme, sometimes it'll play the post-Scorched Acres version of the Titanic Plains theme. Or it plays the pre-Scorched Acres version if you get Titanic Plains, and on Scorched Acres it plays the updated version. That actually would work perfectly, I think, because it would give something for everyone, you know? Also, I think that I often forget that I have a portal, and so I just go through the teleporter and skip the portal even though I paid money for the portal. So I think if you pay money for the portal, you shouldn't be able to go through the teleporter, because you're going to end up at the same place anyway. It's just that it forces you to stop by the shop, because, I mean, you paid... Because if I forget that I hit the thing and I just rush through, then I just wasted a lunar coin. Effigy of Grief, I haven't used a new version. I don't know if that's any good. Meteorite, Glowing Meteorite, that's never been good, honestly. I feel like it should do more damage to enemies to justify the fact that you can easily kill yourself with it. The Rafflesia, the Corpse Flower. Why? Like, the fact that it makes... Like, it you know how it works, the mechanics. But the fact that it caps your regeneration, your healing speed at like 25% of your health per second, so at minimum it takes 4 seconds to heal fully. You'll heal for longer, but you will heal less per second, and that's what's important. And it's just... it's not worth picking up. At the very least, make it so... Okay, make it so every stack of Corpse Bloom you get increases the amount of max health you heal at. So, like, 1 stack of Corpse Bloom, you can only heal 10% of your health per second. 2 stacks, you can heal 20% of your health per second, and so on. That way, there'd be a point to stacking it up, because right now, the more you get, the slower you actually heal. Like, you'll heal until the end of time, but you can heal, like, 1% of your health per second, no matter what you do, and that's just objectively bad. This thing's good. I'm gonna take that. No complaints about that. Oops. Okay. I just thought about stages because I saw that it's here. I really don't like the idea of having a stage be exclusive to Google Stadia, because that requires you to have a good internet connection to be able to use it. And even with a good internet connection, a lot of people have had trouble with Google Stadia. Like, it's laggy even if you have a good internet connection. Like, even in their official demonstration, it was laggy. So, making it so you have to have Google Stadia to get a certain upgrade for the making a map Stadia exclusive is a bad idea. I'm fine with it if it eventually comes to this current version, the PC version, Xbox, and all those. I'm fine with waiting as long as it's not going to be exclusive forever, because having platform exclusive things is it is a great way to divide the community and not make people happy. Same thing with DLCs, actually. You've mentioned that you want to, I guess, keep the game interesting, but with every game there's a point where it should stop updating. Like Risk of Rain 1, it stopped updating, and that's fine. Nothing more needs to be added. It's a finished game, but like in the last development thoughts, you talked about updating the game with like maybe an imp update or a void update, but they'd be like paid DLC. First off, paid DLC is like, why make it so people have to buy the game twice? Like, I mean, yeah, you're perfectly within your rights to do that. There's nothing like wrong about it or greedy or anything like that, but it's not fun for the players. And making it so some people will have those features and others won't, that will divide the community. That'll make it, there'll be a lot of resentment, most likely, among the people that can't afford those updates. And also the fact that, I don't know if this is what you meant, but I'm guessing that it seemed like you were insinuating that you plan to like continue updating the game with DLC or otherwise for quite a while, which I would strongly recommend against, because like with Minecraft, there comes a point where you should just stop updating the game and leave it as it is, because if things are constantly changing and the game is constantly in a state of flux, it makes it harder for modders for one thing, but more importantly, things that people liked about the original game can get removed, and things that and more things can be added that they won't like, and just constantly updating games perpetually is just a bad idea. So I feel like you should have an idea of, okay, this is what the game is going to be like, and unless we encounter something like a bunch of players complaining about something, for example, maybe there's an item that's just too overpowered, and even though the game has stopped updating for, like, the last update was a year ago, everyone is still complaining about this item, and it would drastically make the game more balanced if that item were to be nerfed. Or maybe someone comes up with a really good suggestion for the game, or you guys come up with a really good suggestion for the game that doesn't dramatically change things, like adding a bunch more new levels or characters or things, or changing mechanics, but it just like low quality of life things, just things that make the game more enjoyable, small things, that's fine. But constantly updating the game just to keep people interested in it, just to keep people from getting bored, is a bad idea, because it's natural for people to get bored of games after a while. You play a game for a while, eventually you're going to get bored of it, you're going to stop playing it, and that's okay, that's good. Whoa! I am almost dead. Like, it's not your job as a developer to make sure that we're entertained all the time just with your game. I mean, like, but when it's natural to get bored of a game, just start playing different games, take a break from the game for a while, and play something else. That's normal, and that's good. But just constantly updating things, I've never seen that end well. Like, that's how Minecraft ended up the way it is now, where everyone still plays 1.8. Okay, now for the parents. They teleport too much. The fact they can teleport on you and then immediately smash you into the ground right after they teleport, you have no warning. I actually got killed once in one hit because a gank squad of parents just teleported on top of me and all slammed the ground at the same time before I had a chance to react. That was not cool. You've mentioned before that you think that when a player dies in a game, they shouldn't blame the game. It should be their fault. I love that. I completely agree with that. And so that's something that I feel like isn't players' fault. So I would nerf parents so that they can't, so like, once they teleport, they have like a 1.5 second grace period where they can't attack. That gives you a chance to dodge away. Yeah. So that would make it a lot more fair. Now, you've tweaked one-shot protection a lot, and that has been, it's been an entire meta, as people call it. It's been an entire strategy for people to just abuse one-shot protection, and you mentioned that you don't want that to be a viable strategy, but it's also important to keep it in the game, so that kind of thing doesn't happen. You don't just get one shot. I would strongly recommend adding invincibility frames, because sometimes you get attacked by, let's say you get attacked by a wisp, like a blazing wisp. Yes, one-shot protection will protect you from one shot, but wisps shoot like a shotgun. They hit you multiple times in one shot, so that technically doesn't count as one hit, so one-shot protection will not protect against that. It also won't protect against damage over time debuffs, or things that have a slight delay. So greater wisps, both of their fireballs they shoot, one hits slightly after the other, one-shot protection won't help you against that. Elite enemies, like blazing enemies or overloading enemies, the extra damage granted by their elite prefix, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in, like, for the overloading ones, it happens like about a second after you get hit. For blazing ones, it happens constantly over a period of a few seconds. Things like bleeding also happened over a period of a few seconds, so one-shot protection doesn't actually protect against those. I would make it so one-shot protection protects against everything except constant damage over time debuffs, like fire or bleeding, but it would protect against... You would get immunity frames from things like... it would protect against, like, overloading, those little electric balls that the overloading enemies attach to you. It would protect you against that, or against the multiple shots of greater wisps, or things like that. Because despite having one-shot protection, you can get one-shot, or effectively one-shot, so easily. Just because you get attacked multiple times in like a second before you have time to react, so you just go from full health to no health right off the bat. And that just seems very unfair, and like you should have some sort of warning, like, hey, you're low on health. Like, you saw there earlier, I got low in health, but I had a warning. I saw my health go down. I'm like, hey, I'm at low health, I need to run away and heal. So I did that. But when you take all the damage going from full health to no health in like a second, you don't have that option. So either you have to avoid that attack before it even starts, which means you have to predict the future, pretty much, or it's just luck based, and that is not, it's not fun to deal with, honestly. So yeah, I would strongly recommend adding iframes. There may be some technical reason why they don't work, like maybe you tried it and it resulted in players being invincible, or it was just too hard because there's so many different types of damage to balance. But maybe just like, maybe tweak one-shot protection so it's not one-shot protection, but a player can't go from 90% of their max health to no health in 1 second, you know? So it's effectively the same as one-shot protection, but it's better because it works even against things that don't technically one-shot you. Also, yeah, bleeding still needs to be nerfed because it used to be not very good, but now it's incredibly overpowered. So again, keep what I said about bleeding in mind. I'm sorry this is a long video. If I could condense this into just a bunch of text, that would be so much easier, but I just had a lot of trouble getting my thoughts together. So I had to do it this way instead. Hopefully... Okay, that's another thing. It shot that... You saw that item went through the hole and yeeted itself into the void. I've also had 3D printers spawn on the edge of the world, so anything I try and print from them immediately just eats into the void. I feel like that's a glitch or a bug or an anomaly, something that wasn't really intended. I can't imagine that it would be intended, but yeah, I feel like that should be changed. Unstable Tesla coil, instead of activating every 10 seconds and lasting for 10 seconds, I would just have the damage but make it happen all the time. Also, Primordial Teleporter looks amazing. Spicy Absolute Unit Ghost, Gank Squad. That's accurate. That's what I call these guys. I'm having to concentrate super hard not to die here. Another thing is that you need a lot of movement abilities to succeed in this game, because if you can't dodge, if you're playing as like the Artificer or Rex, then you really can't dodge attacks. And even if you're playing as like the Mercenary or the Commando, which has like a shift ability that helps with movement, that has a cooldown. So it's not like Dark Souls where you can just dodge any attack that shows up. You can only dodge in certain scenarios. And the dodge attack doesn't even actually dodge. Like, you still take damage if you get hit. It looks like the teleporter has horns. That's awesome. But like, you still take damage when you're dodging, which can be a problem, honestly. I would make it so the original, not the slide shift ability, but the original roll shift ability the Commando has makes you invincible like it did in the first game. Because I thought it did for the longest time. I was like, why am I dying? Turns out it doesn't make you invincible, but I really feel like it should, to be completely honest. In fact, I feel like every survivor should have a movement ability that's kind of like a dodge or a dash to quickly get out of danger. Because sometimes you can see an enemy attacking you, you know it's coming, but you can't do anything about it. Okay, we're now getting into the final stage. I have a lot to say about this. This music, by the way, that played during the boss fight, I really like it. It's really good. Okay, first off, you will notice that there's a little wall there. Apparently that only... Okay, I love the new visual effect that the Tesla coil gives you. That's fantastic. But first off, there is so much unused space here. In Risk of Rain 1, there was the UES contact light where there was... Oh, that was a fantastic final level. There's so much to do. There were the key cards, which was a cool idea. The timed doors, which was awesome. There were all the things in the key card rooms you could teleport to the final boss fight to help you with it. That was a really creative and clever idea. I loved that. The Providence boss fight was fantastic. Just that whole level was a masterpiece. And unfortunately, this level just does not match up to it. I don't know if that's due to time constraints or what, but it's just so empty. Like, there's this huge, amazing area, but there's nothing to do here. In the entire level, actually. But also, real quick, I want to mention that there's these little transparent walls in multiple levels. There's one in the fire level with the gold chest on it, as well as Siren's Call. They both have those levels, those things by the doors. I didn't get to show those in this video, or I sort of did, but also in so many other videos I've shown them. I don't know if this is my computer doing it, or if it's a graphics setting. I've tried so many graphics settings, none of them change that. But I have seen some YouTube videos where some people don't have these weird walls, but I do. I don't know why, I don't know how easy that's going to be to fix, but it's something that definitely bears mentioning. These guys, I feel like they do a little bit too much damage per hit, honestly. Oh my goodness, see? See? Thank you for proving my point, my good sir. That was way too much damage. Like, that got me for... I think the only reason I survived was because of one-shot protection there. But I think they technically shoot two projectiles, right? They intertwine. So technically, that if I had been unlucky there, he could have just one-shot me. But yeah, there's this final level. It's just so empty. There's no chests. There's no shrines. The only thing the only interactables there are the geysers and the by the way, I forget if I just mentioned this or not, but this music in this level is phenomenal and I love it. And the rain, I mean, it'd be kind of illegal not to put rain in the final level of Risk of Rain 2, because that would just be a crime against humanity. But these guys, also the flying chimeras, I don't like their machine gun attack. Because, like, if it came in bursts, that would be nice, you could kind of dodge it, but it doesn't. Oh! No, 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 no. And then sometimes they'll do that, they'll shoot a bomb at you that is too fast to dodge. I don't like that, that's not cool. But yeah, these guys just do too much damage and they're a little too tanky, and there's not even any point to killing them. The money you get, you can't buy chests with it because there's no chests on this level. This level is basically just a long hike. Like there's nothing here. I would recommend making it so there's like checkpoints where every now and then you'll encounter a boss that you have to beat before you can go to the rest of the level. Also, I would diversify the enemies, because just having two enemies that share the same name and similar design, that's kind of boring, honestly. Especially for the final level. And then there's the fact that it doesn't really make sense. Like, why are you even here? Like, the point is to find the survivors of the contact light, but... So why are we on the moon? I don't know why there's these little things you have to jump through. They're honestly annoying. These little slats you have to jump through. They're annoying, to be completely honest. It's raining underneath them, but that's a small detail. Not a big complaint. But it's annoying to jump through those. It's annoying to have to trek for like 2 minutes to get to the end of this level just to fight the boss, and there's nothing along the way. So I would add like a I would add like one boss to each little area. It's like along this way, you'd have to fight one boss to progress to the next part, another boss to progress to the next part, and so on. I would also add more enemies, maybe some like ancient wisps or something from the first game, something that ties it into the first game, because this entire level feels completely out of the blue. Like, I was thinking maybe we'd have like an origin of the lunar items, for example. There's lunar pods here, by the way. That's one of the very few interactables here. I'm not getting that. I can't risk the boss using that, although it would be good otherwise. And then for the boss himself, my cat is in the way. Hold on, stop. Here, cat, you're gonna have to move, because I'm, a little busy right now. I'm complaining about a video game to the developers. Also, you need mobility items, or you can't really do much here. That's a problem. Like, compared to the contact light in the first game, this is a very boring final level. Toodles. This is a very boring final level. There's no plot significance to it. Like, why is it here? What's the point? How did we end up here, and how does this tie into the story? Like, with Providence, you could tell, like, he's the guy from the beginning of the game. Like, you saw him in the opening cutscene. He was the one that took down the contact light. There's a reason. You have to kill him to get home. That's why that's going the way it is. Also, why are there multiple teleport pads or jump pads here? You only really need one. This boss. I have a lot to say about this boss. Hopefully I don't die right off the bat, because I really want to talk about him. First off, okay, this music is cool. The fact there's a cutscene here, that's cool. But who the heck is he? Who is Mithrix? Like, what? Why is he here? Why am I fighting him? Why is he attacking me? Why is he on the moon? Why are we on the moon? What does this have to do with the survivors of the original contact light? Like, I was thinking maybe what happened is that the contact light actually, maybe the survivor ended up landing on the moon instead of making it back home, because we still don't know what happened to it. But maybe I was figuring, like, hey, maybe the survivor from the first game, maybe he ended up landing on the moon. Maybe he went crazy because of all the items he had to, all the mutations and items and things that he had to apply to himself to survive. And I was thinking maybe he would be the final boss of the game. That would be fantastic. And there's already the Umbras, like the Umbra of Commando and stuff, where it's basically a player character. By the way, those are incredibly weak most of the time, unless you're Rex. But this boss, he has the same problems I was talking about before. You just need, like, because he can basically teleport right onto you and immediately attack you with no warning at all, and you can't really do anything about it. It's like, did you see that? That was less than a second. No one thinks fast enough to be able to dodge that attack. Even if I did, the only dodge I have is this shift ability, and if that's on cooldown, which it often is because of how fast he attacks, I can't do anything. I feel like this boss would work better in Dark Souls, where you have a consistent dodge mechanic that makes you immune to all damage, so you can dodge attacks easier. Because, like, if you're playing the Artificer, how are you going to dodge this guy? I genuinely don't know how the Artificer would be expected to survive here. Like, I literally, to beat this boss, I had to go on Drizzle mode. The only time I've managed to beat him on Rainstorm was after the nerf. And, I mean, it's kind of unfair to complain about how the boss was before the nerf, because obviously you've already changed that. But yeah, I feel like there should be more warning to his attacks so you can get out of the way. Like, maybe the place that he's going to target will glow blue, so you know to get away from it. That's what I like about Providence, is that all of his attacks were telegraphed and dodgeable, so it was easy. It made sense that you would be able to beat him. But with this guy, you basically just have to run away the whole time and pray that he doesn't just one-hit you. Because he does that a lot. And the thing is, when I first got to this level, okay, the fact that you've got the clip from Precipitation in here in the final boss fight. That is fantastic. I know, specifically talking to Chris Tudolu here, or as I like to say, Chris Toodaloo. I know that you said you weren't going to have like you weren't going to make like a variant or a remix of any of the old soundtracks, but I really appreciate you putting that there. The only problem is that it doesn't fit thematically into the boss fight. That's a separate problem. The music is fantastic here in this fight. But so like the first time I was at this level, I'm like, this place looks cool. It's kind of boring. There's nothing to do here, which is weird. But the music is fantastic and giving me lots of feels from the original game, which I love. And so yeah, the music is fantastic and all that. But it took me so many tries to beat the final boss. Okay, see that? He took me down to like almost zero health. I'm pretty sure one-shot protection was the only thing that kept me alive there. The fact that they can just damage you that fast. If you don't have healing items, you're toast. See, look at that. I'm dead. Because there's so many of them, and they're all attacking so fast. I can't dodge a machine gun. I'm not a Jedi. Sorry if this is coming across as whiny, but it just really feels unbalanced when you can die that fast. The only reason I'm still alive is because I have insanely fast regeneration. But that's entirely dependent on luck. I mean, so was the first boss fight in Risk of Rain 1. The first, Providence. That was very luck-based, because you need good items to do it, but I feel like this one's way worse. And the fact that by the time that I actually managed to beat the boss, all the novelty of this level had worn off, and instead of being like, oh, this is so cool, all the feels, nostalgia, I was just kind of like, seriously? Like, no offense, but it was a letdown, to be completely honest. And I really feel like it could be improved. Now for this phase of the fight, I like how it spawns a Chimera in here with Mithrix, harkening back to the Temple Guards in Providence's fight, so that kind of felt like a nice little callback, which I really liked. Although, again, the biggest problem I have with this fight is that you can just die so fast, because he does like 100% of your health in damage per hit, almost, or like 90%. So unless you have mad regeneration, or tons of dodge chance, or insane mobility, or luck, or things like that. See, look at that, see how much damage he did? If I didn't have this much healing, and this is a lot of healing, I have a rejuvenation rack on top of everything else, so that just doubles my healing, but it's really excessive. And the fact that he's still spawning those drones, also I feel like he has a bit too much health. Like, I feel like I'm just doing chip damage to him, which is a pain. Ah, see? See, look at that. I was jumping away to try and avoid his attack, and then he killed me while I was... in the air, or no. I had just hit the ground, so I couldn't jump because I hit the ground right as his attack hit me, so I didn't have a chance to jump to dodge over it, because I just jumped to try and get away from him because I had no health, and I couldn't hit shift because that was on cooldown, so there was nothing I could do but just watch my inevitable demise come. If this was in Dark Souls, I would be able to dodge that with a Dark Souls dodge, but you can't dodge that much in Risk of Rain, so that felt very unfair, which isn't fun, honestly. So I feel like his damage should be nerfed, maybe he should be slowed down a bit, have more warning before his attacks, because even if you've memorized his attack, which I have, you don't know which one he's going to do. And this attack where he's doing the little spinning laser star thingy, that one goes way too fast for... Like, you have to like, it goes so fast that it is so hard to dodge the attack, because the chance of him actually hitting you, like, I'm explaining this badly, but the music is really good, by the way, but like with that star attack, it's just, all of his attacks, they're just so fast that being able to actually reliably dodge them is just not very viable, you know? It just doesn't, like, by the time you've even processed, oh hey, he's doing this spinning star attack, he's already pulsed it once, which does damage, and then he does another one. You have like half a second to figure out, okay, what direction is it going, where are all the spokes, where do I have to be to, where do I have to stand to not get hit, oh, too late, I'm already dead. And then in his third phase, he takes all your items. So if you have like a Dio's best friend, like normally that would protect you from death, but now you don't have that death protection, which, that's not good. Without the death protection, then you can just die unfairly, because if you got Dio's best friend, it makes sense that you shouldn't die. But if he's stolen that from you and you die before you get it back, that sucks. And also, during that, while you're still getting your items back, so before you've gotten most of your items, he's still attacking, and he does walk slowly at you, but he also sometimes will machine gun you, or he will do that thing where he shoots out those little balls that orbit around him outward. You know what I'm talking about, hopefully. And having to, like, first off, you have no items, so if one of those hits you, you're probably going to die either instantly or close enough to instantly, or you're going to be taken out to 0 health. And once you do get hit, you're not going to have healing items because he has the healing items, and you might not have gotten them back. I just don't like the idea of him stealing your items. If he copied your items, that would be different. But also, like, it just, who is he? Like, having the final boss just show up out of nowhere. Like, maybe if it was it would be cool if it was either the survivor from the first game or the newt from the newt shop, the lunar shop, because you're on the moon. Maybe that's his domain, he lives on the moon, he sells lunar items. Maybe it would give you an insight into what the lunar items are, and at the very least, finishing the game you should find out what happened to the contact light, because at the end of the game, the moon blows up for no reason at all. Like, why does killing Mithrix make the moon blow up? Who is Mithrix? Where does he come from? And then you have to walk, you have to walk for like 2 minutes to get back to the exit, back the way you came. Again, there's no chests or nothing, so there's nothing to do on the way there. You just go in for a hike for 2 minutes, while the moon inexplicably counts down to blowing up for some reason, which is never explained. It might be explained in the logs, but still, it should be at least sort of explained in the gameplay. And then you just leave, and then the moon blows up, and that's the end of the game. I would also put, like, maybe a little mini-boss, or... Okay, how's this? On the way back, the path that you took to get to Mithrix is destroyed, and you have to take an alternate path. And maybe on this alternate path you'll have to do things like shoot at targets to knock down a beam to create a bridge that you can run over or something, so it'll be more interesting than just holding down the W key, you know? And maybe make it faster, so instead of having like 2 minutes, you have like, or however, I don't remember how many. It didn't feel urgent. Like, by the time I got to the end, I had plenty of time to make it. I still had like at least 30 seconds left, I think. But if you have no movement items, I can you probably, I'm guessing you based it off of the speed of someone with no movement items, so even if you don't have any extra speed, you can still make it to the end. But I think you should shorten it So there's more of a sense of urgency, like shorten the distance you have to go and shorten the timer. Maybe make it feel kind of like a parkour session. Oh, look at this. I have a soldier syringe printer as the artificer. I hate the artificer because it's so easy to miss your attack. Like, I spent like a second and a half just charging that up, and then I end up missing, so it deals like no damage. Well, it dealt damage that time, but that's just because I'm early on in the game. So let's say I'm trying to shoot at a wisp. I miss all of my normal attacks, and then I try and do this. It takes forever to charge up. Then once I shoot it, it goes so slowly that the wisp just dodges out of the way and it misses him. Then I have no attacks. The only other attacks I have this one, but I can't do that unless I'm close up, and this one only works against ground enemies. So half the time spent playing Artificer is just waiting for your cooldowns to recharge. I think that's just about all I've mentioned. But yeah, the final level could really use some spicing up. That's the biggest issue. So my biggest complaints are with the music, because that changes the entire atmosphere of the game, the entire feeling I get while I'm playing it. And again, I don't expect you to change the entire music just because one guy doesn't like it, but having an option, like coming to some sort of compromise where people can customize the soundtrack, or where it alternates between the different songs or something like that, to where like everyone would win. I feel like that'd be a great thing to do. Like, I'd be fine with just replacing files in the game structure itself to change the songs back, or making like a resource pack like in Minecraft or something like that. I would be fine with that. That way everyone that doesn't mind the songs wouldn't have to change anything, and I could have it my way. I could have the song I like. Oh, okay, this thing, War Banner. It really needs a buff. One of the problems was addressed in the final update, where once you level up to a certain point, you rarely get War Banners, so making it always spawn when you activate the teleporter was a great move, but it needs more. It only increases attack speed and movement speed, and there's no point in having extra movement speed when you're confined to this small of an area, so movement speed might as well not even be a thing. Attack speed is nice, but it's a pretty small bonus. I think they should also increase your damage and defense and regen like it did in the first game, because right now no one gets a War Banner and it's like, oh right, I got a War Banner. I don't think even you guys do that. And when there's an item that is so bad that no one likes getting it, then it's just not good to have items like that. Again, it's one of many small things that add up to make the game annoying, a lot more annoying, because each little annoyance adds up. Yeah, and stacks over time. Also, I would make it so the more War Banner stacks you have, the more often War Banners would show up. So, for example, you get if you have like 3 or 4 War Banners, you get one every half level up. So every time you level up, as well as every half level of XP you get. So each War Banner you get makes it so you need less XP to get the next War Banner, or potentially it could just increase the strength of the stats the War Banner gives you, or maybe one stack gives you movement speed and attack speed, 2 stacks gives you damage on top of that, 3 stacks gives you defense on top of all that. Something like that. Something to incentivize actually getting it. Because there's so many items that there's no incentive to get. They're objectively bad. Because they're useful in almost no situation. And even when they are useful, they're not very useful at all. And then there's items like the Royal Capacitor, where once you get it, there's no point in getting anything else. There are some balance things that need change, but I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. If there's anything I forgot, I will I'll put it in an email, feedback email, and so overall, I think that's all I have to say about this. So in general, overall, Risk of Rain is a Risk of Rain 2 is a great game, but there is still a lot of stuff that needs to be done, particularly with the final level, especially a lot of balance things need to be changed, and a lot of quality of life things should be, it would be nice to add those. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for watching this video. If hopefully you being Hapu Games, hopefully you actually did see this video. I would really appreciate it if you watched it, and if you did, thank you so much for watching it, and thank you for making these games, because they're fantastic 90% of the time. And so yeah, these are just my thoughts on things I think could be improved and things I think could be added. And I'd also recommend looking at a lot of other people's suggestions. Like, I've seen a lot of good suggestions regarding the Lunar, the Heresy set, adding an entire new class based on that, and other cool stuff that other people suggested. And I would recommend checking out a lot of those other suggestions, because there's some really good ones. So, yeah. This video's been incredibly long. Thank you for everyone who's watched it, Hapu or otherwise. I really appreciate that. And so yeah, just please consider all the things I've said, and thank you for making this game. Have a good day. Goodbye.